I need to add 7 to that, and then I can get the congruence class of 5, and that's that. And I can multiply two congruence classes, 3 times 5, the congruence class of 3 modulo 7 multiplied by the congruence class of 5 modulo 7 gives me the congruence class of 15 modulo 7. Now you can see 15 is not here, but if you think about it and divide, 15 is related to 1 because 14 plus 1. 14 gets divided. So 15 is related to 1, so that's the congruence class for the multiplication. And we can now construct a little table for all these congruence classes, addition and multiplication. So this addition and multiplication I can quickly put into a table. I am using m equals 3 in this example. So if I add all the classes, so these are all the additions, you will see that if I add congruence classes, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1, 0 plus 2 is 2, 1 plus 0, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, so 3 means it's a congruence class of 0 because we are talking congruence modulo 3. And so on. Multiplication chart here, again you will see if I multiply by anything by 0 is 0, and then the other ones when you multiply you will get this answer. So we have a table that tells us all the additions and all the multiplications of these congruence classes. Any congruence classes, there are some special classes. Let m be any positive integer. Then 0, the congruence class of 0 is a special one. It's called the identity for addition, because if you have any other congruence class and if you add it, you still get your same class. So 0 congruence class is called the identity for addition. And 1 is again a special one, is the identity for multiplication, because for any congruence class, if you multiply it by 1, you get 1. And negative a congruence class is the inverse for the addition, because if you have a congruence class A and then if you add the negative a congruence class to that, you get the identity for that. In general, there is no inverse for multiplication, and that's true for integers as well. If you just look for numbers, you will see these things, but there is an inverse in special cases for congruence classes, but not for integers. Next, to discuss division of congruence classes, we need a theorem, Fermat's little theorem, and that says that if P is a prime number and P doesn't divide A, if P doesn't divide A, then A to the P minus 1 is congruent to 1 modulo P. So that means a to the p minus 1, this number and 1 are related through the congruence modulo p relationship. So let's look at an example. Suppose I have p is some number 3 and a has to be a number that's not a multiple of p. So any number that's not a multiple of p, so I can take 4. Of course then p doesn't divide 4. And so Fermat's little theorem says that if you look for 4 to the p minus 1, so that's 4 square, that's 16, then 16 is connected to 1 through modulo 3. And that's true because if you subtract 16 minus 1 is 15, gets divided by 3. And of course we can modify this a little bit. If I multiply the congruence by a, which I'm allowed to do, I have another result. So a to the p is related to a, and again you will see that it holds in our example. Now 4 to the 3 will be related to 4 because 64 minus 4 gets divided by 3. So it's a little theorem, it's a useful theorem. It says that if p is not a factor of a, then this version or this version. This little theorem brings us to an interesting and important proposition that if p is a prime number, then any non-zero element in ZP has multiplicative inverse. What it means is that suppose you have some a, an equivalence class in ZP, and a cannot be 0 because we don't want the 0 equivalence class. Then there is another equivalence class b in that, so that if I multiply a and b, it will be equal to 1. And then b is called the multiplicative inverse of a, and then by that also a becomes the multiplicative inverse of b, because when you multiply them I get the identity for multiplication, which is 1. And Fermat's little theorem actually gives us this inverse. B is a to the p minus 2, because if you go a times b, that's a times a to the p minus 2, that's a to the p minus 1 when I multiply and add the exponents. And we already know from Fermat's theorem that a to the p minus 1 is related to 1. So the equivalence class of a to the p minus 1 is the equivalence class of 1, and that's what we want to show. Therefore Fermat's little theorem gives us this interesting proposition that for prime numbers, if p is a prime number, then the non-zero elements do have multiplicative inverses, which is quite different to integers, because if you look only for integers, the number integers, only 1 has multiplicative inverse. 1 times 1 is 1. For no other integers are there multiplicative inverses. If you say 2, the multiplicative inverse of 2 is half, but that's not an integer. So integers in general do not have multiplicative inverses, but equivalence classes, these congruence classes, are special. They are from a finite collection, so they do have multiplicative inverses if p is a prime number. And that's not true if p is a composite number, then the elements do not have multiplicative inverses, but for prime numbers they do. Example, you can see in Z3 that we have the table for multiplication. You will see that 1 is the inverse of itself, because 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 is the inverse of itself again. It's a special case. 2 times 2 is 1. So they in Z3. But if you look in other equivalence classes, you will see different inverses for the elements.